Leeds boss Daniel Farke has insisted that Leeds will not simply coast their way through their remaining games in the Premier League, with games against Spurs and West Ham to come, insisting they will not be easing up for anyone. A report states that early signs under Roberto De Zerbi are unmistakable. Tottenham are no longer playing like a side resigned to relegation. They are playing like one that believes it can escape it. And Conor Gallagher reveals the behind-the-scenes change that Roberto De Zerbi has made at Tottenham, while also stating the Gaffer has been brilliant with us. Here are your daily Tottenham news headlines. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name's Craig and here are your daily Tottenham news headlines where I'll be going through all the latest news, rumours and reports. If you're watching on YouTube and are not already as yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Like, share and comment below. And if you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. And please make sure you turn on the notification bell so you get notified whenever we go live or upload a video to the channel. Okay, let's get into it. The Yorkshire Post claims that Daniel Farke has warned Leeds United will not coast towards the finishing line, insisting his side will attack the final stretch of the Premier League season with the same edge and intensity that it has dragged them to safety and the brink of Premier League survival. In the wake of Leeds' commanding 3-1 victory over Burnley at Ellen Road, the Whites manager made it clear they will not be easing off, even with survival now firmly in sight. Farke's side have moved to 43 points and opened up a healthy cushion above the relegation zone, but the German was adamant that Leeds will not approach their remaining fixtures with complacency. Instead, Farke has demanded a strong finish, insisting momentum, standards and mentality remain non-negotiable as Leeds prepare to face a run of opponents still embroiled in the fight for survival. With relegation battlers still to come, he stressed that Leeds have a duty to maintain their level and avoid handing struggling sides any encouragement. There may be breathing room now, but Farke's message is simple. Leeds are not safe until the job is done, and they will not be easing up for anyone. Sky Sports report that Roberto De Zerbi's arrival at Spurs was supposed to be little more than a desperate roll of the dice. Instead, 4 matches into his tenure, the Italian has breathed life into a side that looked destined for the drop and dragged Spurs back into the fight with a revival built on belief, bravery and tactical clarity. When De Zerbi walked through the door at the end of March, Tottenham were in freefall. Igor Tudor's chaotic 44-day spell had yielded 1 draw and 4 defeats. Morale was broken and the club had slipped to the brink of relegation. There had been no Premier League win in 2026, with the atmosphere was toxic and even survival looked beyond them. De Zerbi inherited not just a struggling team, but a club paralysed by fear. 4 games later, the mood has shifted dramatically. Spurs have taken 7 points from De Zerbi's first 4 league matches, collecting 2 wins, a draw and a defeat, and most importantly have rediscovered both a sense of purpose and a way of playing. A crucial win over Wolves ended their long wait for a league victory before an even more significant 2-1 triumph at Aston Villa lifted them out of the relegation zone and offered the clearest sign yet that Tottenham may yet survive. What has changed most is not simply the results but the manner of them. Under Tudor, Spurs look disjointed and fearful. Under De Zerbi, they have become more assertive, more structured and far more confident in possession. The Italian has quickly reintroduced the hallmarks that made his Brighton side so admired. Calm build-up play, sharper pressing, positional discipline and an insistence on courage in possession, even if under pressure. It's a style that immediately appears to suit Spurs' technical players and far better reactive football that came before. The transformation has been as psychological as it's been tactical. De Zerbi's central message since taking charge has been to strip fear from the squad. He has repeatedly urged his players to reject negative thoughts, insisting that mentality, not just ability, would decide whether Spurs stayed up. It has been a theme echoed publicly by his players players, with goalkeeper Kinski speaking of the renewed optimism inside the camp and the belief De Zerbi has restored in a dressing room that had looked beaten. There is also a growing sense that the players have bought into his methods quickly. Reports from within the club suggest Tottenham's squad feel they are receiving their best coaching in years, with De Zerbi's intensity on the training pitch already drawing praise. The Italians' demands are exacting, but they have brought structure and conviction to a group that had looked lost. Conor Gallagher has quickly become emblematic of De Zerbi's early impact. The midfielder, one of Tottenham's more energetic performers, has flourished in a system that demands aggression and intelligence between the lines. De Zerbi himself has highlighted Gallagher's influence, suggesting Spurs look a completely different side when he is at his best. Richarlison too has shown signs of revival, while Kinski's key save against Wolves underlined a growing resilience that has previously been absent. There is still considerable work to do, of course. Spurs remain locked in a fierce survival battle, injuries continue to bite, and De Zerbi has inherited too many structural flaws to solve in a month. But the early signs are unmistakable. Tottenham are no longer playing like a side resigned to relegation. They are playing like one that believes it can escape it. For a club that had looked broken, that alone is remarkable. For 4 matches is too soon to declare that Tottenham are safe, but it has been long enough to show that De Zerbi has already done what his predecessors could not: restore order, restore confidence and restore hope. And Football.London report that Conor Gallagher has lifted the lid on the quiet but significant changes Roberto De Zerbi has made behind the scenes at Tottenham, with the midfielder crediting the new head coach for reigniting both his own form and the mood around the club after a bleak winter campaign. In comments that offer a revealing glimpse into the early De Zerbi era, Gallagher described a sharper, more demanding atmosphere at Hotspur Way, where standards have been raised and players are being pushed harder, both tactically and mentally. The England international, who arrived from Atletico Madrid in January, said the Italian has quickly brought clarity, intensity and belief to a squad that had looked short on all three. Gallagher has been one of the clearest beneficiaries after a difficult opening spell in North London following his £35 million move from Atletico. The 26-year-old has looked transformed in recent weeks, with De Zerbi's arrival appearing to unlock the energy and aggression that made him such a highly rated Premier League midfielder at Chelsea and Crystal Palace. His display in Tottenham's 2-1 win at Aston Villa, capped by his first goal for the club, was seen as the clearest sign yet that he is rediscovering his best form. That victory at Villa Park was not only significant in the relegation battle, but also served as a public demonstration of the internal shift Gallagher alluded to. Tottenham played with a level of discipline, aggression and purpose that had been largely absent for much of the season, suggesting De Zerbi's message is already taking hold. Gallagher's opener set the tone in a performance that dragged Spurs out of the bottom 3 and handed them renewed control over their survival fight. Gallagher's praise for De Zerbi is especially notable given the midfielder's recent journey. Having struggled for rhythm under Diego Simeone at Atletico before returning to England in January, he admitted Tottenham offered the right fit and the right opportunity. But it is under De Zerbi rather than the coach who signed him that Gallagher now appears most settled. The midfielder has spoken of feeling trusted, understood and given the freedom to play to his strengths. Again, pressing aggressively, driving forward, setting the tempo in midfield. For Tottenham, Gallagher's resurgence could prove pivotal. In a squad ravaged by injuries and short on confidence for much of the campaign, his rediscovered energy has become symbolic of the wider revival. De Zerbi's impact may still be in its infancy, but Gallagher's comments suggest the turnaround is not just tactical, it is psychological too. After months of drift, Spurs finally look like a side beginning to believe again. Okay, here's my thoughts on those stories today. Firstly, Daniel Farke talking about the fact that Leeds will not let up and Leeds will attack this final stretch of games for them. Wouldn't expect anything else from a Daniel Farke team, to be honest with you, or from a Leeds team. Leeds have been there before. And they are going to want to finish in the highest Premier League position possible. They will be thinking, of course, that they're safe at the moment, but I, for one, don't think Farke's going to let them drop off, and that includes not just our game against them at the weekend, but of course the last game of the season against West Ham. They all want to go out professionally, in a professional manner, competing in the game. They won't want to be seen as laying down and being on the beach. That's for sure with Leeds. You're not going to get that with Leeds or under Daniel Farke. And while that's good for us, perhaps for the last game of the season against West Ham, we have to be aware of it this weekend at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium when Leeds visit. It's not going to be an easy game. Everybody thinking it is are sadly wrong. Leeds are going to be putting up a fight this weekend. They're going to want to turn us over. Of course they are. And we just have to be aware of that. And I'm sure that De Zerbi is going to be instilling that into the players and making them think, look, we haven't even done half a job. Yeah, brilliant performance against Villa, but we've got to keep going. We've got to... the most important thing is to win our home games, of course, and there's only 2 of those remaining against Leeds and Everton. We've got to start against Everton. We've got to start strongly in these last 3 fixtures. If we can somehow get a win against Leeds, and I'd hate to say that Arsenal do us a favour because none of us want that really, but let's be honest, we need Arsenal to beat West Ham. And that would really do us a favour. That would mean we have 4 points clear with 2 games remaining. And of course, then we go to Stamford Bridge. Yes, Chelsea lost yesterday to Nottingham Forest, but Stamford Bridge is not a happy hunting ground for us. But perhaps, perhaps I got a little feeling that perhaps this year could be different. Could we get something at Stamford Bridge? Look, that conversation's for another day, of course. Let's get Leeds out the way first. The De Zerbi influence and Conor Gallagher has kind of rolled into one, these 2 articles, really. But it's undeniable the influence De Zerbi's had, and it's going to take a few games to really assert that influence. But we began to see it against Wolves, the resilience and how we actually got over the line in the end through Palhinha, and now this brilliant performance at Villa. And people can say that Villa swapped out players and weren't at their best. Yeah, Villa weren't at their best, but we were fantastic. Let's not take anything away from Spurs or the players, or De Zerbi for that matter. Many sides have gone to Aston Villa this season and lost. We went there with probably limited belief, if I'm brutally honest, but the boys were brilliant from minute 1, and all they need to do, I say all they need to do, but they need to keep up that intensity and that passion and that will to win and that belief, I suppose, that De Zerbi's instilled in these players. And it's got to start, as I say, against Leeds this weekend, because if we lose to Leeds, yeah, we've beaten Villa, but we've lost to Leeds, so we're back at square one. We need to climb the table as quickly as possible. 3 games remaining. It's going to be incredibly difficult to do. I'm not certainly getting carried away yet, but you can see the changes that De Zerbi is making. And as Gallagher said, he said the Gaffer's been brilliant with everybody, and it really seems like the players are starting to buy into De Zerbi, having had, let's face it, 2 managers that they didn't want to perform for, and that'd be Thomas Frank and Igor Tudor, of course. It's amazing what can happen when a highly respected manager and this type of manager comes in, compared to what the players and the fans have had to watch the style of football-wise anyway for the first part of the season. It does make me think if De Zerbi had come in at the time they appointed Tudor, well, I don't think we'd be in this mess. I think we can all see that. And the club waited too long, as we all know, to get rid of Thomas Frank. It was never going to work, but, we're in this position. It is what it is. And we've now got to get ourselves out of it, and it's got to continue against Leeds at the weekend. So fingers crossed Spurs can do that. I'm sure De Zerbi will be drilling them this week and giving them that belief that we can turn Leeds over and climb the Premier League table. That's all from me today. Get down in the comments, let me know how you're feeling as a Tottenham Hotspur fan right now. And as always, come on you Spurs.